Hey guys, this is Substitute Topher. Today we're getting the chance to take you on a bit of a sunset drive and give you some of our final thoughts here on the 2023 BMW 760i. I've spent the week with this flagship sedan, and I'm excited to take you out on the road and show you what it's like tonight. Now, I went to the launch event of this car last year, and I emerged from the experience thinking that may be my favorite flagship sedan, and I also think that that was one of my best reviews ever. I was really into it. I really enjoyed the car, so I'm excited to give you some of my final thoughts tonight and give you some more in-depth driving impressions on what it's been like to actually live with this car. This is now, I think, the third loan that I've experienced with the 760i, so I spent a ton of time in this thing, and I'm excited to show you around it one last time before we probably don't drive it again for quite a while until they do some sort of facelift or something. But anyways, we'll give you kind of a base level look at the exterior. We have a super in-depth 36-minute review already on the channel on this car, but I wanted to go out during sunset, show you some of the ambient lighting, and again, give you some final thoughts. So let's walk you around this thing, show you what it looks like on the outside. We'll take a brief look at the interior, and then we'll go take it out on the road, and we'll show you what it's like to drive. Power doors, one of the big highlights here on the 760i, and we'll talk more about that once we take a look at the interior more in depth here shortly. But here we are, a bit more of a simple spec on this car than the one that we drove out in Palm Springs, but it is as bulbous as ever. It makes a statement, we'll put it that way. Honestly, the looks of this car, when I saw it for the first... Why is it... I think it's angry that I just called it bulbous. What I was gonna say is that I feel like BMW got their proportions right, at least for this new G70 body 7 Series. And when I saw it for the first time, I said in my review that I kind of thought proportionally it reminded me of the E38 BMW 7 Series, which I think is one of the most beautiful cars they ever made. And this whole making a statement piece kind of falls into that category, but it also kind of doesn't, because I thought about it a bit more, and I think maybe this leans more towards the... Okay, I think it's upset that the key isn't in it, so I'm gonna put the key in it. Anyways, what I was saying is this car feels a bit more like a departure from that, and it kind of gives E65 vibes, because the G11, the previous generation 7 Series, was a very tame, a very safe looking car, and this just isn't that. For one, it's massive, it's longer, it's wider, and it's taller than the outgoing 7 Series, but it also just makes so much more of a statement. I mean, look at these Swarovski crystal headlights. Those are absolutely nuts, and I showed those in the intro in the first drive of this car, but now you can actually see them lit up at night, and they look unreal. I hope that really translates through on camera, but they are quite nuts. So this also has the M Sport appearance package, which gives you this big black grille in the front, which some could argue that it makes the car look better, some could argue that it makes the car look worse. I'm not really sure how I feel about that. I think this is one of those cars where you either love it or you hate it. But let's do a brief tour here. Trunk space. I don't have the key in my pocket, so it's just making this very difficult for me today. Let's pop the trunk with what looks like a window switch here on the door panel. And we'll take a look in the back. Sometimes these cars, guys, I feel like they're way too technologically advanced for their own good. I mean, there are just so many things in this car that are just a bit of a headache. Anyways, big trunk space. You could fit quite a bit of things back here. There's my backpack for scale. It's a very sort of skinny and deep trunk because you don't have all the room right here, because that is where the wheels sit. Those are our wheel arches. Over here we have a first aid kit, I think. Hello? Oh, it was already unlocked. Okay. First aid kit, toolkit, all of the things are over there. But overall, of course, we have a power trunk. There you go. Cool. Now, we're not actually going to step into the back seat yet. I want to do some driving while we have some light left, and then we'll pull over, we'll hop in, and we'll show you the back seat, because that is kind of the party piece of this car. So you'll have to stick around to around the middle of the video if you want to see that. So before we hop up front, let's pop the hood and take a look at what is powering this big flagship sedan. Because what's under the hood is kind of what makes me like this car so much. Pull our little hidden hood release there, and the street lights have just turned on. That's good. You can see this mineral white paint. So here it is. Under the hood of every BMW 760i is BMW's S68 4.4 liter twin power turbo V8. It makes 536 horsepower and 553 pound-feet of torque. That is mated to an 8-speed ZF automatic transmission, and of course power is sent to all 4 wheels. This thing weighs 5,100 pounds, but it still boogies, it can still hustle, and we'll show you that once we get out onto the road. Pretty attractive engine cover in here, and the engine bay overall is quite tidy and looks pretty well put together. 0W30 oil for this S68, and we touched a bit on this on the first drive, but having an S motor in a non-M car is kind of a departure for BMW. It's a new thing that these 760i and X7 M60, they're kind of pioneering that, the whole non-M car with an M engine, because of course S engines are traditionally in M cars, but this isn't a full M car. I don't know, it's like trying to explain something that doesn't fully make sense, but if you know, you know. If you know BMWs, hopefully that makes sense to you. There you go. We'll open up the doors and we'll take a quick look at the interior. But again, guys, if you want a super in-depth look at the 7 Series, make sure you check out my first drive. So we have power doors in this car, and there's a couple ways you can close them. You can use this button here on the dash if you're the driver or the passenger. But what I like to do is just put my foot on the brake and it shuts the door for you. The power doors are cool. They're a bit of a struggle to explain to people if you're driving them around. Usually people aren't used to cars with power doors, so it's kind of a thing that you have to be like, oh, well, you hit this button, and that's how you operate the doors, which is all right, but it's often just one extra step that you don't really want to take. But I think the power doors are cool, and you're also able to control those within the infotainment, of course, as you are with everything in our doors and window menu. You can open all of the doors at the same time, except it only did the fronts for some reason. Let's see if Jeeves will do it for us. Hey BMW, open all 4 doors.
Should I open all doors?
Yes.
Got it.
There we go. Okay, so this was kind of the party piece that I showed off as well in the intro. But this is just cool. I mean, things like this are what set this 7 Series aside. It's just kind of neat. Yeah, I know. I'll get back in. That's got to be some sort of setting we've got turned on, because BMWs usually don't yell at you when you get out without the key. I wonder if I put my foot on the brake when I get in, if it'll shut all 4, or if it'll only shut the driver's door. Let's see. Just the driver's door. Okay. We're going to click close all doors. That will shut them all. There we go. Very nice. Okay. Otherwise in here, very normal BMW things. However, there is one thing that I want to get out of the way right away. I said in my initial review that there weren't any covers for the cup holders, and I was wrong about that. There are 2 little individual covers for them. There they are right there. Kind of a neat design. That way you can have one open, one covered, both open, both covered, whatever you want. But there is definitely no cover for your wireless device charger that sits here in front of the cup holders. Otherwise, we have a split folding armrest right here. We have many controls that are also crystal, just like the headlights, the shifter, the iDrive controller, and the volume roller right there. And this crystal theme has kind of continued throughout the cabin. We also see it here on the dashboard, where we have this crystal-like design that goes across the door panels and the entire dash, which is our ambient lighting. Another reason I wanted to drive this car at night, so you guys can see all of the different lighting options that this 7 Series offers. Of course, you can have this sync up with your drive modes if you'd like, or you can have it just be any sort of color that you want. So we'll go through some of those right now. The gold is pretty cool. We'll check out emerald green. That's a nice one. I like that one too. See turquoise. Nice. Azure. Very cool. right, we'll do a couple more here. We'll end with lavender because that's what we're going to drive with. Coral. Cool. And what about flamingo? Okay, Caro Caro Bonito would be proud. Let's go to lavender. That's my favorite, and that's what we'll drive on tonight. Also, though, I want to show, since this is a BMW, forget this is backwards, you push it forwards to open it. We have ambient lighting on the moonroof as well, which you actually can't really see because of that street light, but all of these little lines, I'll show you when we pull over to show the back seat. These are all ambient lighting, super cool. Okay, let's get on the road. Let's get you some driving impressions, then we'll continue the interior tour of the back seat here in just a little bit. We'll use our crystal shifter, which instead of having a big traditional shifter now, you just have this little guy. We're seeing this in a lot of BMWs now. It's kind of like the little Porsche knob that you get in 911s and any PDK Porsche nowadays. Super light steering in this car, and it's hard to explain, but you have to have this sort of weight and feel when you're making steering for a luxury car. And funny enough, Lincoln actually does it really well in the Navigator, and I think that BMW has really nailed it here with the 7 Series. It's light, but it's very precise. And what helps this car a lot is the rear wheel steering, and it just makes the car very agile, which is nice. But the steering is so light, it's effortless. It's not so light that you can steer it with your pinky, but it's weighted just about perfect, in my opinion. Additionally, we have two-way adaptive air suspension, so that helps soak everything up. Sweet sounds there from that S68. And can I just say, I love that we still have V8s, and I love that V8s will probably still be around for a little bit longer, and I extra love that BMW still gives you one in the 7 Series. I'm all for electrification. I'm all for smaller displacement with turbos and hybrids and whatever else, but nothing beats a V8. It's just the best. Pretty linear power delivery there with the throttle response off the line. It doesn't jerk you around or anything like that. We are just in normal mode right now, but we do, of course, have many different drive modes. It's a little bit overwhelming. We'll go into sport here for this next section. Now, what does sport do? Well, it tightens up the side bolsters on the seats. It sharpens everything up. It stiffens up our two-way air suspension. It'll also hold gears longer, everything else. And it makes our ambient lighting M colors, which is a little cheesy, but you know, you gotta have it. Also, one press down here on our shifter puts us into sport transmission mode, and we have paddles behind the steering wheel that we can manually select our gears with, and they react pretty quickly. Feel through the brake pedal is good. Again, this is a 5,100 pound sedan, so it's a lot of car to stop, but the brakes do a pretty good job. With the M Sport Pack, you do get slightly different brakes, and those do feel quite nice. Now, with this being a 7 Series, of course, it does have to be quiet and reserved when you aren't driving it like a hoonigan, and well, I'm happy to report that it does a pretty dang good job with that as well. At the end of the day, that is its main purpose, of course. And even riding here in sport mode across this rough section, you'll hardly feel anything. All right, let's put us back into automatic mode. We'll stop and we'll do a launch control and see how fast this 760i gets to 60. that is very sharp. It's a quick sedan. I'll give it that. It definitely hides its weight well upon acceleration, for sure. Pretty sharp and snappy throttle response there in sport mode. Oh yeah. When I first drove the new 7 Series, I drove it back to back with a Rolls-Royce Ghost, and I'm really glad that I did, because it kind of showed off how much BMW invested into making this new 7 Series ride, shift, and be as quiet as a Rolls-Royce. I mean, it's telling. Obviously BMW owns Rolls-Royce, so you do have a little bit of that DNA in here, but they have gone above and beyond with this new G70 7 Series. So now that they've fully gone through and revamped everything, this 7 Series, in my opinion, feels now up to date, if not even further in the future than the Mercedes S580 and other current Mercedes S-classes. And, well, the equivalent i7, the sister to this car, the electric version, I definitely prefer it to the Mercedes EQS. So BMW's doing all the right things, in my opinion, here with the 7 Series. It's one of those things where we kind of just have to understand this new philosophy of who is BMW making these cars for. You know, I understand the frustration of we don't have raw enthusiast drivers cars anymore from BMW, but they're still making an effort. This car drives fantastically as far as from a sport aspect and from a luxurious aspect. But also, who is their market? They have to make something that's going to make a statement. They have to compete with Mercedes, with Audi, with Genesis now even at this point. So they have to make something special, and this car seems to fit the bill pretty well. Now, let's go ahead and let's hop in the back seat of this 7 Series, and we'll show you what that's like, because that is kind of a party piece of this new G70 7 Series. Okay, actually I moved this a little bit further away from that street light because I want to make sure you guys can see everything properly, including this ambient lighting on the moonroof. How cool is that? All right, let's go ahead, hop out, and we will go into the back seat to show you what this is all about. I also went ahead and grabbed the vertical Monroney. I'm not sure why it's vertical, but I want to have it here with us so we can reference it when we talk about some of the options that are on this BMW 7 Series. Hit our little button there. That will, of course, shut the door for us. Okay, very nice. Now we have a couple of overhead lights here. Let's go ahead and turn those on so we can do a bit of story time here with our Monroney. So what do we have on this particular 760i? Well, our base price is $113,600 for a 760i xDrive. This car as spec is $149,045, so call it 150 grand. We have the Autobahn Package, Driving Assistance Pro package, BMW Individual Composition, which is literally just this Alcantara headliner. That is $5,450. We have the luxury rear seating package, which gives you what I'm about to show you in just a second with this multifunction rear seat. M Sport Professional Parking Assistance Executive Package, rear executive lounge seating. Now this is the most important option that we have back here because that gives us our 31-inch 8K resolution theater screen that literally drops down from the roof of the car. It's unlike anything else I've seen in any other production car. It's unreal, and I'm going to show you that here in just a second. Additionally, we have M Sport Package Pro. We have the carbon fiber trim up front. We've got the 21-inch wheels. We've got the climate laminated glass. interior camera, and we have a Bowers & Wilkins sound system as well. There is so much to go through on this car that if I went through everything and showed you everything, we'd be sitting here for 2 hours. So I hope you forgive this somewhat abbreviated review here of the 760i. But let's go ahead and take a look at our $7,000 theater screen. We'll drop it down from the roof of the car. And you can do that with your own personal infotainment screen that you get on both sides in the back seat. This is nuts. This is another thing that I've just never seen on any other car that BMW has here with the new 7 Series. So there are a number of things, of course, you can control, but we're going to go into My Modes, and we're going to put ourselves into theater mode. You can control a few from back here. You can't put your driver into sport mode from back here. That would be kind of cool, wouldn't it, if you could put Jeeves into sport. But the only things you can do with Jeeves is put him into expressive, relax, or theater. And let's go ahead and do that top one right now. I mean, just unbelievable. Now, not only is this a 31-inch 8K resolution screen of many things, it's also a touch screen, so you can touch and do everything you want. You don't need a remote like some of these cars do that have little screens on the back of the front seats. You can do everything with your hands on the actual screen. So let's just go ahead and show you some of the things that you can do. It's asking me to sign into my Amazon account, which I'm not going to do. But if you were to do so, you can watch all sorts of different things there on Amazon. What I do want to show you, though, is all of the different settings for actually watching on this screen. You can move the screen forwards and back, and that gets it quite a bit closer to you. And also, if the sun is coming in at an angle that you don't like, you can position the screen up or down towards you however you would like. So there are many different ways in which you can position this, which is nice because, of course, when you're in a moving vehicle, often lighting situations change. So this is a good thing. You can also adjust your brightness, make it super bright. We're going to turn that down. I like whoever was using this last had it very dark, which is how I would have it as well. You can adjust your audio, your different inputs here. We have HDMI, and you can also plug in your Amazon Fire Stick as well to this thing and just watch whatever you have on that back here. So a number of different things that unfortunately I can't show you a lot of because this isn't my car. So I don't have access to the internet and all of the different streaming services on here. So it doesn't really let me do too much. So that's that with the screen. However, there's more to this back seat, just when you thought it was over, because this has the lounge seating as well, which means this passenger seat goes all the way forward basically into the dashboard, so I can hyperextend my body and have my feet up while I'm watching the screen. So let's go ahead and do that now. We'll swipe up to unlock our infotainment on the door, which is hilarious. And then we click seats. Of course, this has massaging seats as well. Why wouldn't it? And then we have a few different settings down here we can pick from, and we're going to pick the one with the little stick figure that is laying down. Now, admittedly, this takes a little bit of time. This seat has to completely fold forwards with the seat back, and then it has to go all the way forwards into the dash. So it takes a minute. So that seat has to adjust, and let me turn this light on actually so you guys can see a little bit better. That seat goes all the way forwards, and then it's going to pop out this little footrest for me, and then the seat that I'm sitting in is also going to adjust and move this leg rest up, which you can see it actually doing already. And I've got to get my dirty Vans all over the seat. I'm sorry, BMW. So many different noises happening. Okay, so this is basically what I like to call private jet mode. You've got your legs extended, passenger seat all the way forward with a footrest. Let's turn this light off and we'll show you what this actually looks like. You've got your screen down, you've got all your controls here on the right, and this is just like VIP living. This is the way. This is just unlike any other car that I've ever been in. And I've been in Maybachs, I've been in Rolls Royces. This takes it to another level. And when you put people in this car that aren't used to things like this, it absolutely blows their mind. I've put so many people in this car and have just, like I said, have blown their minds with it. So Let's see what else we can do back here. Not really too much, honestly. You can kind of just control your other things with the screen, with the seat, and unfortunately can't put Jeeves into sport mode. So I'm going to get myself out of this. We're going to hop back in the driver's seat. We're going to give you some final thoughts, and then we will wrap up for tonight. Got to stand back from this or else it doesn't open properly. Of course. Okay. So I want to talk about what this thing's been like to live with. Let's press our glove box button that's on the dashboard. It's a power release and then a manual shut. Kind of silly. Let's actually back up and show you the backup cameras. Doing my best to show you all everything. Okay, let's put ourselves into drive. So now that I've actually been able to spend some time with this 7 Series, I've been able to get to know it a little bit better. I've been able to kind of pick out some things that are a little bit irritating. And the biggest one, and kind of the primary one, is all of the technology. And it is very cool. It makes a statement. It's ahead of its time. But it all kind of gets a little bit irritating and overwhelming when you're actually living with this car. Primary example, when you go into my modes, okay, you expect most cars to have 3 drive modes: normal, sport, and eco. This has those. But then you go over to the right, and we have more modes. We have expressive, relax, and theater. It used to have one called digital art. Maybe they got rid of that because everyone was making fun of it. But my point is, these are all modes that change things other than the driving experience. So you put yourself into expressive mode, and it opens the sunroof. It starts massaging me. It changes all of the ambient lighting. It changes the cluster. It does so many things that traditional drive modes don't do. And it's not necessarily getting into the drive mode that's annoying. It's then getting out of it. So as you can see here, I'm still in the drive mode menu. So that's already one of the things. I have to make an extra click. I can then click to switch modes and say I want to go back to personal mode. Okay, that's great. But then my sunroof is still open and the seat is still massaging me. So that's kind of the thing that is the most frustrating, is that not everything goes back to the way it was. I wish when I put it into personal mode, it would stop massaging me. It would close the moonroof shade. Just not even necessarily those specific things. Just put it back to the way that you had it. So that's kind of the biggest thing for me with this car, is that it's almost seems too technologically advanced for its own good. I say that as I'm still getting a back massage. Not necessarily complaining. It's just kind of the way it is. Otherwise, though, you get used to pretty much everything else. The power doors, like I said earlier, they're a bit gimmicky, and actually I had an issue with the power doors earlier this week. They just stopped working. The driver's door, none of the power functions were working, so I had to do it manually. And I don't like using the power doors manually, because then you hear the little electric motors going ring, and it just sounds like you're breaking things. Essentially, every complaint that I have about this car has to do with all of the crazy electronics. And you could also go on to say that, well, BMW is very clearly making this 7 Series for the first owner, for the person that's leasing it, because if I'm having issues with the power door now, what is this going to be like 5-10 years down the road when this is on its 3rd owner? I don't even want to think about that. So there are things with this car that are attractive on the surface, and then when you actually start to think about them, it's a little bit scary. So just things to consider. Of course, if you're watching this video, you're probably thinking about buying a 7 Series right now, in which I would recommend that you do it. I think this is, hold on. This is one of those cars that you should experience if you have the means to do so, because you're not going to want to own this when it's a few years old. So by all means, do it if you want to do it. And I wouldn't really stop you from buying one of these right now. I think it's a fabulous car, and you would really love driving it. So one last thing I want to do before I let you all go tonight is a sound system test on this Bowers & Wilkins 3D sound system. And what that means is that I have little vibrations in the seat when the bass hits, which is kind of cool. That's why they call it 3D. So I'm going to go ahead and pull up our traditional sound system test song, and we'll start listening to that. So this is one of those sound systems where I have nothing to complain about. This is what I would call an S-tier sound system. It's fantastic. It has power. It's crispy. It does everything I want a sound system to do. So good mark there from BMW. Usually Bowers and Wilkins, you can't go wrong. They pretty much always nail it in every car. The Volvos, for example, just sound fantastic. We're going to merge onto the highway here. I want to show you all Assisted Driving Plus. And this light is out, so we're going to come to a complete stop. And we'll do another acceleration here. It's so quick, this thing. It's like really, really properly quick. All right, drop back down into personal mode, get our purple back on, click out of this and into that. So many clicks, everything is so many clicks away with iDrive 8. Let's hop over here, let's set our cruise control. Now this is our baseline assisted driving. But what it should do is prompt me here and tell me that Assisted Driving Plus is available. I'm hoping that it will do that. Yes, Assisted Driving Plus, press mode to activate. So basically what this is now is I don't have to touch the steering wheel. The car is just going to drive for me. And if I put my turn signal on, well, I think it's, oh, okay, nope, it's doing it. Sometimes when you're wearing a camera, it throws it off. And it kind of misunderstands what are your eyes and what is the camera. So we'll have it get back over here. See, my hands are not on the wheel. Nice. Overall, this is a pretty good system, and when you're not wearing a camera on your face, it works flawlessly. One thing I find funny is that Assist Driving Plus, when you put your turn signal on, it changes lanes. It does not hesitate. It gets over, which is very BMW of it. So I think that's kind of funny. Hopping off the highway now, and my final thoughts for this car, they're all really good, and I'm not going to say anything else bad about this because we just went over that. I've enjoyed living with this car this week. Every time that I've driven this car, I've enjoyed it, and it really just gives you a glimpse into an upper tier, and it makes you want to do better in life because I don't want to drive anything else. I want my big luxury barge, and I want to arrive places. That's one thing this car does really well is arrive. You pull up to the valet, the door opens itself. You don't have to have Jeeves open the door for you because I suppose the car is Jeeves. So lots of good things here with the 760i. And yeah, this is for the first time in a while, I think I may pick this over the Mercedes S-Class. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for us today. Thank you all so much for watching, and comment below what you think of the new 7 Series. It's been out for a while. You've had some time to digest it. I've had some time to digest it, and I'm still a pretty big fan, even after living with this thing. So I think it's a good car. I think BMW really hit the mark right. You can tell that they invested a ton of time and money, and they've made a good thing. Right now, for me, this is the flagship that's on top. That's how it should be, right? Good job, BMW, and I'm excited to see what you do next with the 7 Series. I know there's a new i7 M60 or something like that coming out, so that'll be new. And then also the new 7 Series Protection was just shown today, actually the day that I'm filming this. So that's the bulletproofed BMW 7 Series. Cool that they're still doing that for different countries that use 7 Series to drive their politicians around. You now have the armored version of the newest generation, so that's kind of neat. I guess I was standing in the way of it there. But it's still not happy. Please just shut. Oh, are we having an issue? Maybe having an issue with the door. Like it was doing to me. Oh, no, we're good. I was just in the way of it. All right, everyone. Well, that was a lot of information, but I appreciate you sticking around. And that's the new 7. Make sure you check out our videos on the i7 and also the first drive on the 760i. But as for this car and as for tonight, that'll wrap it up for us. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care.